If you're watching this video, chances are over 40% of your daily routine is exactly the same, which means that your chances of having financial success could be completely destroyed. So in this video, I'm going to explain to you how I've used the dark side of discipline to re-engineer my routine and accelerate my business and financial goals. But before we start, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click the notification bell for more wicked content on business and entrepreneurship. Now, before we get into the financial aspect, let's talk about the power of routine. Routines can provide structure, reduce decision fatigue, and boost productivity. However, when routines become overly rigid, they can have unintended consequences. As an example, during the pandemic, our business grew exponentially, which sounds great. However, it provided a management challenge because we went from having face-to-face meetings with maybe 5 to 7 people to Zoom meetings with up to 15 people at times. Now, after a few months, I'd realized that these meetings were going on for an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours. And after each person in the team would give their debrief of the week and their plan for the week ahead, I noticed that there were some individuals who were just sitting on the call and weren't really getting much value out of it. After a few months, after I added up how much time was being wasted by those individuals staying on the call and they didn't need to be, it worked out that we were losing at least a day or two's work in terms of human resources. And this became apparent because, as many people do, they were complaining about their workload, and I was looking at ways in which they could become more efficient. And looking at that meeting, that big team meeting we would have on a Monday, I realized that people could save up to an hour's worth of work that they could contribute to their daily tasks. A rigid routine might help you get through your daily tasks, but it can hinder your ability to think creatively and solve problems. Your brain thrives on novelty and spontaneity, which are essential for innovative thinking. So when your routine is too rigid, you miss out on opportunities for creative insights. Back in 2017, I was feeling like my creativity was being lost through the day-to-day operational side of the business. And I would often tell the story of being in primary school and loving art. And as I grew as an entrepreneur, I realized that there was a close connection between creativity, art, and entrepreneurship. So I decided to create and curate my very first art exhibition, which was called The Art of Entrepreneurship. And I did that in the art space in Wilson Library, round the corner from where I grew up and spent time as a little boy. I got together some young entrepreneurs who were artists, and I got together some grown-ups who were artists too, and entrepreneurs, to put together an art exhibition which ran across the whole week. Now, not only did that give me a creative outlet, but actually what it really did was it gave me an art exhibition to work from as my office for the week. So what more could any entrepreneur want in order to get those creative juices flowing, but by being in an environment that they've curated themselves, which is full of art and creativity. Research has shown that excessively strict routines can take a toll on your mental health. A study published in the Journal of Applied Psychology found that individuals who adhere to rigid schedules often experience increased stress levels and a reduced sense of autonomy. So I've experienced burnout maybe 2 or 3 times, excepting the second lockdown where my burnout came really from a lack of external stimulus because cabin fever really set in. And I know it's going to sound strange, but half of the times when I did experience burnout, it was really me testing myself to see at what point would I get to my limits. A little bit like training to failure or training to mechanical failure in the gym. So after experimenting and seeing how my body responded to work and to stimulus, I realized that actually, in order for me to recover from burnout, what I needed was a different stimulus to the one that my daily routine provided. So I'm not the type of person that just needs to sit down and do nothing. I need active recovery, but that active recovery has got to be in places and spaces that give me new ideas, that give me a new outlook on life. And that looks like a holiday, a different location, people are speaking different languages, I'm in and around a scenery that I'm absolutely not used to. And that for me is really powerful. Another hack that I use, which gives me a real sense of autonomy around my work, is the fact that when I am away, whether it's a short break or a long break, I can actually still get some emails in, I can still do some social media, so I can still do some strategic thinking and some tactical thinking about the business. Now, a lot lot of people will say you shouldn't be working whilst you're on holiday, but if you do what you love, then you really can't stop an entrepreneur from stargazing and thinking about what the future of their business can be if they're looking at a beautiful horizon or if they're sunning it in the heat of Miami or Spain. So that sense of flexibility has really helped me because it means that I can still think about what I love doing in different environments, which actually triggers a large degree of creativity, which removes me from the rigidity of my daily routine. Now, let's connect the dots between rigid routines and your finances. A study conducted by researchers at Harvard Business School found that rigid routines can lead to overspending. When people stick to strict schedules, they often seek rewards or indulgences to cope with the monotony, which can result in unnecessary expenses. Now, I'm going to give you an example of two people I know. Hopefully, friends and family watching this may work out who I'm talking about. Now, there's one individual who has pretty much reached the top of his game, and he doesn't really spend on fashion, on accessories, and all of the latest tech. He obviously isn't gratified by physical possessions. And this individual is the definition of doing what you love. Now, there's another friend of mine who has a really decent job. Are they in love with the job? Probably not. Are they the type of person that works to go on holiday and works for the weekend? Probably. But this individual also spends a lot of money on the latest gear all the time. And it's clear they're doing that as a way to subsidize the lack of meaning and to replace the monotony that they find in their day job. Now, in the short term, you might say, what's wrong with that? If someone is working a job that they don't like and they spend on themselves to make themselves feel great, then that should be fine. Except that if you do that over the long term and you don't put your money away into investment vehicles, into savings, into, dare I say, a pension, or you might be investing in other businesses, then using that disposable income on simply just things you enjoy will not serve you in the future. Now, this is a classic case of delayed gratification, but the thing which I believe most people miss when they are discussing the topic of delayed gratification is that it's very difficult to delay something you want if your current scenario isn't one that you really enjoy, which is why in the first individual's case, if you are gratified by the thing that you're doing, you don't need external gratification and you can perhaps delay some of the stuff that you might want sometime in the future. But with individual B, if you aren't gratified on a daily basis because you're doing something not that you don't just love, but something that you perhaps really don't like, then you do need some form of immediate or short-term gratification. The only trouble with that is that it can impact your spending habits and prevent you from having a financially stable future. Furthermore, inflexible routines can cause you to miss out on financial opportunities. Let's say you're so focused on your daily routine that you don't have the opportunity or the bandwidth to explore other financial investments, learn about new strategies, or explore additional revenue streams. In my previous life, when I ran a digital agency in Shoreditch, we started by delivering SEO services. For those who don't know, search engine optimization back in 2004. And I started to learn the thing in 2002. That was our entrance to the digital market. But what would happen, because we came from investment banking backgrounds and we understood business and operations and marketing, business owners who we would be delivering these SEO services to would also ask us about other areas of their business when it came to digital services. So some would ask us to create websites for them. Some would ask us to do PPC. Some would ask us to simply just do some coaching and consulting on their overall digital strategy. Now, because we weren't rigid, we didn't say, well, we just do SEO and so therefore we can't help you. What we did was we partnered with a design agency, we partnered with a pay-per-click agency, and we partnered with a copywriter who could help us to deliver on some of those services. And in doing so, we were able to grow as an agency. And because we had additional revenue streams, it meant that when the 2008 credit crunch happened in the UK and around the world, we were able to survive. But also, when it comes to Ultra Education, which is the social enterprise that I'm currently running, we started out life with an idea I had to create a goal-setting app for children surrounding these two characters, Malachi and Penelope. The problem was that the goal-setting app really wasn't that good, and the technology that I was using didn't quite do what it said on the tin, which was respond to mobile really well. There was a few too many steps for anyone, especially a child, to use this goal-setting app on a mobile. Now on the side, we had a coloring book featuring these two characters, and that was just really supposed to be an additional kind of side product to the business. Little did I know that an educator would come along to one of the events where I was selling these coloring books and said that it would be a great tool to help introduce entrepreneurship to children. And that was one of the proof points for me to think about how we could more deliberately and more effectively use tools, perhaps not a tech tool, good old analog paper coloring book, to introduce entrepreneurship to children who love coloring all day long. But not only that, and for about 3 to 6 months, I thought we were going to be a company that just sold coloring books. But actually, when we started to use it as a tool in schools, we realized that the learning outcomes that we were able to get from the children helped to meet the objectives of the teachers and their requirements. And it then enabled us to develop programs in primary schools, then programs in secondary schools. And now, pulling on that thread, which was essentially us saying, whatever the market wants, we will respond to. Our work has grown all the way up to us delivering government contracts here in the UK. So the key is to find balance between discipline and flexibility. It's important to have a routine that provides structure, but also provides room for adaptability. By doing so, you can maintain your mental well-being while also capitalizing on financial growth. Now, who hasn't seen the clip where Bruce Lee says, "Be like water, my friend.
Be formless, shapeless, like water."
And in reference to the martial art Jeet Kune Do, which he taught, he was essentially saying that you need to be adaptable in the same way that water is adaptable to its environment and it's adaptable to its circumstance, that as a martial artist, you too should be adaptable. Similarly, I believe in life and in business, you should also be adaptable. When you're thinking about your financial future or your financial present, you should also be adaptable. So I am constantly adapting to the changes in the macro environment. So what is the economy doing? And then on a micro level, I'm adapting to my own personal circumstances. And on a nano level, I am adapting to my own personal energy. So what does that mean? It means that on a macro level, if the economy is taking a knot, which it currently is, interest rates are through the roof, there are lots of people losing their jobs, then as a business, we would be remiss in not tightening our belts and looking at ways in which we can create more efficiencies and reduce costs. But on the flip side, there are always opportunities. So we are constantly looking at ways in which we can use AI tools to help make our work more efficient, to automate elements of our workflows so that we can get more done in the same amount of time. But lastly, adaptability in the way that I approach a particular project could be a new company, it could be an initiative. It's looking at it like an experiment. So just yesterday, I was having a marketing meeting for our new e-commerce platform for young entrepreneurs called Yo Buddy. And because the platform is new and we don't have enough data to forecast our revenues, it means that on our initial marketing push, we need to experiment with a number of different messages, approaches, platforms, and collateral to see what we can learn, to therefore build a body of data upon which we can forecast. And all of that is going to require us to be very adaptable, just like water, in the way we approach that campaign in order to get some learning from it. So how can you strike the right balance? So here are some practical steps you can take to harness the dark side of discipline and improve your financial well-being. Number 1, set flexible goals. Define your financial objectives whilst leaving room for adjustments as circumstances change. Number 2, schedule unscheduled time. Dedicate periods in your routine for exploration, learning, and creative thinking. Number 3, automate your finances. Use technology. There's a bunch of apps that can help you to utilize your time more effectively, allowing you to focus on other areas of your life. Number 4, review and adjust on a regular basis. Periodically assess your routine and financial goals to make sure they still work for you and align with your evolving priorities. And if you've got any other ideas of how you've managed to take what might have been a rigid routine and use it to your advantage, to tweak it, to adapt it so that it can better align with your future objectives, then do let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, I will see you on the next video. Ultra and out.